My name is Nicolas De Zamaroczy, and in the fall 2026 semester, I'll be teaching a 6-week class called Diplomatic Writing, Past and Present. In 1941, U.S. Secretary of State Cordell Hull sent his Japanese counterparts a telegram so strongly worded that arguably it made the war in the Pacific between the two countries inevitable. In 1946, the State Department asked its embassy in Moscow for a brief explanation of Soviet behavior that had been perplexing them. The very lengthy memo that got sent back to headquarters was so unexpected and struck such a chord in senior leadership that it ended up serving as the blueprint for the US's strategy throughout the entire Cold War. In 1962, in the depths of the Cuban Missile Crisis, as the world stood on the brink, US President John F. Kennedy decided to respond to one letter he had received from Soviet Premier Khrushchev instead of a different letter. This ended up making all the difference and had greatly helped to defuse the situation. And as I'm recording this, the government in Iran is considering a one-page proposal from the US government to end the current conflict between the two. And we will have to see whether the contents of that letter are acceptable or not to the Iranian government, and whether or not one of the most economically devastating wars the world has ever seen continues or not. If you're interested in better understanding what diplomats do, if you're curious about how written communication shapes the interactions between states, or if you're just curious about whether or not it's a good idea to conduct international diplomacy via Twitter, then you might enjoy the class. In terms of readings, there'll be some short optional readings linked to each session, but they won't be required. No prior knowledge is required. The only things that are required are interest in the material and a willingness to ask questions. So thank you so much for listening to this, and I hope to see some of you there in the fall.